What's up, team? Today we're going to be doing the sway bar links on my '06 Eclipse. Let me see, they're torn, broken. Here's the sway bar right here. So obviously those are very important when it comes to steering, stability, and everything like that. Pretty much you can just go ahead and replace just one if one is bad, but honestly it's best just to go ahead and replace both, because if chances are if one just went bad, the other will go bad. This way you went ahead, replaced them both, and did some preventative maintenance on top of that. So pretty much these are pretty much the tools you all need: Torq stick, possibly a breaker bar, ratchet with some sockets, and maybe an extension, and then that's it. And then some medium strength thread locker to prevent those bolts for backing out with vibrations. Like, this job shouldn't take long to do, so let's just get to it. When you take a corner, you feel one side of the car dip down while the other side lifts up. That's actually called body roll or sway. But what actually keeps the car from rolling over? That's where the sway bar comes in. The sway bar is a U-shaped bar that wants to stay parallel. It's because actually it's a torsional spring that keeps its shape by springing back into place whenever it's twisted. When one side is pulled up, the other side pulls it back down. That's where the sway bar links come in. The sway bar links actually connect to the actual sway bar and to the body or frame of the car. So when the body starts to roll or sway in one direction, the sway bar twists and pulls the lifting side back down, improving handling stability and keeps the car flat on the road. This is why it's important to replace the damaged and broken sway bar links. I categorize these into two different stages. The first stage is where you'll hear a noise, rattling, clanking, knocking, thump, banging. Once this starts, you should replace the sway bar links to prevent any further damage. You can still drive with these in stage one, but you will continue to damage these sway bar links, and the noises will become louder and more frequent. Now, stage two is when the sway bar links themselves are damaged or broken, or disconnected, I should say. If this is the case, you should not drive the vehicle due to some severe damage that you can cause to tires, brakes, steering, or suspension. Not to mention, if all of a sudden you have to do a sharp turn or you're taking a corner, you may cause a rollover. Here's an example of a broken, disconnected sway bar link. Now let's get back to work. All right, so first things first, we're gonna go ahead and undo these bolts. There's one here, one down here. They're both 14 millimeter. So let's see if we can get those, get them all loosened up. So for this, I am gonna go ahead and do an extension just because the strut is right there. See if we can go ahead and break this loose. And we are going to need the breaker bar. It's really stuck on there, so obviously, which is part of the suspension, so you definitely want to make sure that that stays that way. That's another reason why we're going to be putting medium strength thread locker on those. That way they don't back out or anything like that. So let's go ahead. Extension on the breaker bar and the 14 millimeter socket. Put that on there. And there we go. All right, now we're gonna do the bottom bolt. A little close there, so I'm gonna probably go from the top and then work our way over. Again, just be careful with the ABS line. You don't want to damage that. So Let's get this on here. And there we go. So now we can switch over to our ratchet. And get these off. Just like that. Loosen that up. Let's go ahead and loosen up the bottom one as well. Now we can go ahead and just loosen it by hand. One. That one's still a little tight, so let's put the ratchet back on it. And that's two. So now looking at it, you can see that the threads are pointing down. It's going to be the same thing with the one on the bottom. They're going to be pointing up. Now the easiest way, because now the threads are pretty much holding it in. Now you don't want to go ahead and try and bang that out or anything like that. So what you're going to do, let's get your jack. Put in a safe spot right under the lower control arm, making sure not to hit the grease fitting. And then all you're going to do is lift it up. You keep lifting it up until you see the sway bar loosen. Just like that. And then it's just pulling it out and pulling it out. That's it. So on the left here, this is the old one here. So you can go ahead and see where the bushing is ripped, broken. Obviously these things are made to be sealed, so you want to make sure if you start seeing this, start really going ahead and getting ready to replace that. So here's the new one, nice and sealed. Came with locking nuts, brand new, nice and stiff. Here's the part number that I went ahead and got it from. True drive. So now let's go ahead and get it on. All right, now putting it back in. I said the one that's at an angle going down, that goes on top. One up goes on the bottom. So let's go ahead and get this in. Top one first. Now you see the hole's too low. You can try lifting it up, but of course it's a sway bar, so it's stiff. So easy fix. Just go ahead and use your jack and raise the lower control arm higher. Just until it lines up with the hole. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant lower. And as you see, I went a little too low. Easy fix. Just slowly raise it up. And there we go. Push it in. Make sure it's in all the way. Top, make sure that's in all the way. Go back down. And there it is. Leave that in place there like that. Having the jack hold it in place. Now you go ahead and thread the bolts on, but first I'm gonna go ahead and put some medium strength thread locker on the threads. Again, these are for so the bolts don't back up because of vibration. Because with the suspension, it's always vibrating. Even though they are locking lug nuts that were supplied, still want to be safe. So first, hand tighten until it gets to the locking part. Same at the bottom. Get out of the way. Obviously, you want to take your time when you're doing this because you don't want to cross thread the bolts. There we go. Now, these are no longer a 14. These are actually bigger than the OEM bolts. These are actually 17s now. So go ahead and start locking, tightening it up. Just till it starts getting snug there at the bottom. Now moving over to the bottom. And snugged on there. Now we're going to go ahead and torque to spec, which for these on my Eclipse, which is the same for the 2009 up to the 2012, it's 45 foot-pounds. And then just to be sure that that was correct, one more time. Now for the bottom. It's a little tricky in here since it's so tight, but we can do it. So let's try it from the bottom of the other side. There we go. Okay, and that's 45 foot-pounds. And then after that is just lowering the suspension, removing the jack. And then after, what I like to do after that, because then at that point the suspension is on its own weight and everything, I'll go back with the Torq stick just to be sure that it stayed at the proper Torq spec. So right now, let's go ahead and lower it slowly. There we go. Now everything is on the suspension. So again, good. And good. Again, it's just double checking your work. Obviously this is a suspension thing, so like if it ended up breaking or something like that because it didn't have the right torque, honestly, that could be very bad. So, and that's it. It's the same procedure on the other side to go ahead and do it. So now it's just going ahead, putting the wheel back on. You may or may not have to go ahead and get an alignment. I don't believe you should, because you didn't really move any of the suspension parts, but keep that in the back of your mind. If it starts pulling to the left or the right more, or you start noticing some uneven tire wear. And that's it, guys. So if this video helped you out, please give it a thumbs up. You know, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. We're doing a bunch of different things on my 06 Eclipse. Some O2 sensors, the rear sway bar links, I'll be doing those as well. And a few other things here and there. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.